Good evening, SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery. He's getting this close to the diffuser.
All you gotta do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side going into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, SRA Nation, ladies and germs of all shapes and sizes and ages. We are here to bring you Division 1 SRA action, round 6 of our championship from a wet and wild Spa Francorchamps. You know, if it's racing in Belgium, it's at Spa, and if it's at Spa, you know it's probably raining, and that's the case we have tonight. With me in the booth, as always, I got my buddy Maxie Poe. Maxie, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Feels so good to be back in the booth after a couple weeks off, but really excited to watch these guys slinging around in a wet Spa. It's going to be an interesting battle tonight.
Should be a fantastic one. We can't wait to get to it. Let's take a look at our track map. As we said tonight, we are in Spa Francorchamps in Stavelot, Belgium. This is a long circuit, 7 kilometers around, 4.35 miles. We got 20 turns crammed in there, every one of them challenge to even the most trained and aggressive race car driver that you have seen. Many epic battles on this age-old track, and we are looking forward to seeing some new ones develop tonight. Most people very familiar with this track, of course. La Source Hairpin and headed up through Rouge Radillon, through all the classic corners of this track. Many overtaking opportunities, especially into the bus stop, headed back to the start-finish line. Long straight before that with lots of curves in it, but it can be very tricky to overtake. Maxie, what's your favorite part of this classic track?
I gotta say, coming out of La Source, if you can get a good run and a good exit, or at least make somebody defend on you into that corner, you're gonna have the run through Eau Rouge, up through Radillon, and all the way down the Kimmel Straight into the, I almost said La Source there again, Les Combs, I do believe, the 7 and 9 complex. But if you can't get it done there, it just keeps going on and on down through Puhan. Just numerous amounts of space to overtake here. I think it's one of the best tracks in racing for overtaking.
No question, and we are looking forward to a fantastic race tonight. We will take a look at your standings in just a second, but first we have some people to thank.
All right, a huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca.
We also want to put a big thank you out to our affiliate sponsors, Track Racer, Armentario, and Go Setups. Track Racer lets you experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE, that's S-rate, at checkout to support us. Armentario, excuse me, is a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced heads-up display to change the way you experience ACC. Finally, a big thank you to Go Setups, providing premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. With that, let's take a look at some standings. Well, it's the same story here, folks. Michael Manning out front with a commanding lead after taking another win last week. We will find out if he can continue to dominate in the rain as he has in every race so far this season. Maybe. I mean, we had Max Verstappen fall from the pillars over the weekend. Perhaps we will see Michael Manning fall down as well. But we look forward to seeing him put on another great show along with Jeff Spangler, Mr. Sir. Still Dan Cran, all those guys fighting for second place pretty much at this point. Although I think it is still mathematically possible for them to make a comeback. I think Manning would have to suffer some pretty tragic consequences for that to happen. Taking a look at our silver class drivers. What's mixing over there, Maxie?
So we have a incredible battle here for the overall championship. Second place is 11 points off. Third place is 16 points off. So Andrew Wilson currently out front, followed by Patrick Rust, followed by Austin Carpenter. You know, that is such a close battle. One bad day at the office here, and you're out of the lead, and you could potentially drop 2 or 3 places right now at the top. So silver is incredibly tight. Dramatic contrast to that gold championship right now.
Fantastic. And then here's the rest of your drivers filling out the Division 1 roster. Let's take a look at the team championship as well. Out front, as expected, Michael Manning, Mr. Sir. Pretty big lead in the team standings as well. Although, again, I think it's still mathematically possible if the two of them were to not have good races for the rest of the season. We could see Kevin Lau and Jeff Spangler mount a challenge for the first place with delinquent road hazards trying to take over the first place spot. But there is a little bit of a battle for second place still with Audi This World trying to bring up from third place. And Pillars Racing, where's our money, SRO? Just trying to get into those podium spots. And there is the rest of your teams there for your viewing pleasure. With that, it looks like we are about ready to begin our qualifying session. In fact, it looks as if qualifying has begun. We have cars on track, so let's switch over to our race action. As we open with a gorgeous view of Jeff Spangler's McLaren sitting in his pit stall, we will get to some on-race action here. So we should have Schwartz out on the track, sliding his McLaren around in the rain. This track is simply gorgeous all the time, but geez, doesn't it just feel like Belgium? Doesn't it just feel like Spa when it's all wet and slippery out there?
It does. In my mind, Spa is not a wet track. It is it is not a dry track. It is a wet track. And Fazli Majid here has the perfect opportunity to qualify first place out of silver tonight. Everybody else is going to be battling that spray. So I'm anxious to see what Mr. Fazli can put in tonight.
Should be an exciting time either way. We look forward to watching all of these drivers put in their best laps here very soon. Mr. Boardman shoots by in his very black Porsche. Looking good with the Adidas livery there. Mr. Rust still doing well in his Porsche. And it just seems right to be driving a Porsche at Spa most of the time, doesn't it?
It does. I've been doing a lot of iRacing lately, and the Porsche is incredibly hooked up in the wet. I can't explain why, because in the dry it kind of feels a little unstable. It almost has too much turn in. But when those track conditions start changing and things get wet, you want to be in that Porsche.
Well, we will see how it prevails tonight. We got Mr. Samido as well, about to start his first hot lap here, as they'll really only get a couple good shots at it with the length of this course. They won't get as many attempts at a qualifying lap, so probably a little bit more cautious on your initial attempt to make sure you get a valid lap in. And it's difficult. This track's difficult to get a valid lap in the dry sometimes, so it's only that much more challenging in the wet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we're going to see about 3 flying laps out of these guys. don't think anybody will be able to squeeze out 4, especially not if you were towards the back.
Yeah, the spray is going to be challenging, especially the first time up through Rouge and Radion. It is going to be desperate to be able to see your track marks, your braking marks, your turn-in places with all those cars on the track directly in front of you. It's going to be very difficult, but if anybody can handle it, we're counting on these Division 1 boys here at SRA. These are top split racers. These guys know what they're doing, and hoping for a clean lap 1 so everybody can have a good, fun, competitive race. As we wait for our first laps to come in, we are excited to talk about some of the other big events that SRA has been a part of. We had the Big Grid event last week, which is why we took a week off from our normal racing schedule. That Big Grid event was here at Spa, and it was a multi-class event. I didn't hear too much about it. I wasn't able to participate, but if you did participate in that, shout us out in the chat. There's all kinds of fantastic events always going on here at SRA. Be sure to check it out at sra.gg, and they'll give you links there to the Discord and find out about all the awesome things that SRA is doing.
All right, first flying lap on the board.
And they are slower than the usual, folks.
Yeah.
We are all the way down at the 2.5 mark because of this wet weather. It is slippery out there. Normal lap times we'd see around the
15
range. 2:15
guys.
range out of these divisions. So we're losing a good 15 seconds because of the weather.
Still not that bad in the grand scheme of things, though. I mean, there's some tracks, like Misano, for instance, a small, tight, technical track. You lose 20, 25 seconds around there, so losing 15 seconds around Spa, doing pretty good.
Yeah, for an over 2-minute lap time, I guess that's actually not that much of a delta, is it?
Let's see here, though. Looks like Mr. Wilson is 1.2 seconds off of Rust, currently sitting in pole position.
Rust slinging that Porsche right to the top of the heap, looking good.
I'm not seeing. Well, excuse me. Dominic Durance is out here to prove me wrong. He's currently up 1 second, and he's currently 1.5 seconds off of that provisional pole. So let's see what he can do.
Yeah, we also have Troxclair putting in a heck of a lap. He's about 3/4 of a second up on his last attempt as he brings the McLaren around. Great looking livery. It looks like he might have updated things. That is fantastic looking.
We have Fazli Majid off.
Oh.
Into, let's see. Well, I think I misspoke during our opening little bit. The double right-hander that leads to the bus stop. I believe those are Les Combs.
I believe you're correct.
I'm not sure what's at the end of the Kimmel Straight there.
Somebody in the chat will shout us out.
Yes. We need help. Send help.
We're terrible broadcasters. Help us. You can ridicule us later. Just help us now.
Yeah, I still couldn't believe I thought the Ferrari was an 8-cylinder. But after going to the 24 Hours of Daytona, that would explain why it was on the quieter side of things.
Let's not bring up past mistakes. We're having enough trouble today. It is Les Combs after the Camel Straight.
Okay, so then what are the double right-handers?
Before the long straight down to the bus stop?
Mm-hmm.
What are those?
They're 1 and 2. It's like the Degnas at Suzuka.
Well, out on track right now, we've got Mr. Wilson just starting his lap. He's currently sitting in second place, but he's got a good run to start his lap. holding about a tenth and a half up as he
One thing
comes
of
down the
note
Kimmel
here,
Straight.
talking about the Kimmel Straight there, is your run out of La Source. If you are off your delta by a tenth coming out of La Source, by the time you get to the breaking point for La Source, that will have multiplied to, usually in the dry, 0.2. So 2/10 down. A tenth of a second mistake in one corner will cost you another tenth, just because you carry your momentum so much. But this being the wet, you're not taking Eau Rouge flat out. So you don't, have to worry about carrying that momentum as much.
Definitely multiplies down that long straight, but yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a reprieve with the fact that you're not going to be able to take flat out Rouge as flat out as you normally would.
Absolutely. And a little interesting quirk here at Spa, where, let's see here. So coming out of La Source, that is the old start-finish straight. And that is where the drivers will start the race this evening. However, the actual start-finish line is coming out of the bus stop. So they're almost starting the race a corner late. I really enjoy how they keep the history alive here at Spa.
And it does have a lot of history. Studying how this track has changed over the years has been a really cool thing to look at, how things have developed, how this track came into being. And it's just a pleasure to experience it virtually. I can only imagine what it would be like to go to a race there in real life. But back to the racing action here. Rust has improved his time out front, and he has a pretty decent grip on the pole. He's about half a tenth up on Ryder, but Brooker Quigg is on a smoking fast lap right now. He's almost a second up on his previous best time, currently sitting in third. Let's ride on board with him as he finishes out the lap, coming into the bus stop. Hard braking area, very, very wet here. Slides it through the final corner. Stays off the curbing in the green area that you would normally run out onto right there, because it's even more slippery. And sure enough, he storms his way into pole, taking it away by over half a second. And it looks like he will be our silver class pole sitter as our silver drivers wrap up their attempts. There's only a few other people. It looks like Fazli Majid is still going to make another run at it. As he's finishing his lap, he will improve his time quite a bit. He's about 8/10 up right now. As long as he has a good exit here from the bus stop, we will see him cross the line and jump up quite a few positions. Sure enough, he jumps to 6th place. Big jump for him. And it's a good thing. When you're starting further back in this rain, it's just all the more spray you have to deal with. So as we jump off our silver drivers, we will see our gold class drivers take the track, and we will see what kind of times they can put in. There is one of our team leader, Mr. Sir, him and Michael Manning in their beautiful liveried BMWs, currently leading the team championship, and of course Manning with a commanding lead in the drivers championship. As we switch over to take a look at his identical looking BMW, and we will see if he is a master of the wet Spa as much as he has been a master of every other track this season. Really been a dominant performance out of him at every race so far. And talking to him, he can't even explain it. He just says it clicked. Maxie, what do you think about that?
I'm not sure exactly. Some drivers just do have an innate ability to position their car perfectly and just be faster than everybody else. I mean, if you look at F1, yes, the Red Bull is the class of the field. I don't think anybody's going to question that, but Sergio Perez has the same exact car as has the same exact car as Max, but is usually 4/10, a half a second off of him. So I think if everybody were to have a shot in that Red Bull, I still think Max would be the quickest guy out there, and that just underlines these drivers having that innate ability to drive their car as fast as possible in all conditions. And, you know, Michael Manning last season rather, was driving the Honda. Maybe that car didn't speak to him, didn't give him the feeling he needed. And this season, switching over to the BMW, he has just absolutely dominated the field.
Yeah, and you know, it does come down to who's passionate about the sport. I mean, you look at somebody like Max Verstappen, you look at somebody like Michael Manning right now. You know, you talk to them about it, and it's the time they're putting in the car, and it's because they're loving driving the car. I mean, I heard something about Verstappen just 2 weekends ago. You know, took fastest lap in practice, was on iRacing until 2 o'clock in the morning. Qualified on pole, was on iRacing until 3 o'clock in the morning. Won the race the next day, jumped back on iRacing. It's like this guy just loves to drive race cars. That's all he does.
No, I do kind of feel bad for him though. He isn't getting that competition from the F1 grid, so he's having to come to sim racing to actually do some wheel-to-wheel racing with people.
Manning slinging it through these corners as he jumps out onto the last straight, headed down towards the bus stop. Man, he was sliding that BMW over the curbs. But yeah, I agree with you. Max is hunting for somebody who can actually compete with him, and so cool that he can find that in iRacing. You know, even when his car is so dominant in F1 that he doesn't really have to have anybody to race with. He just drives hot laps for the whole race.
Yeah, and also to our viewers, SRA is not exclusive to ACC. They now have a iRacing league, and it's multi-class. We have the GTPs, LMP2s, and GT3s. I currently race the GTPs. Dudley here races the GT3, and it's an incredible Saturday night for anybody that would like to check that out.
Fantastic racing, basic IMSA rules, multi-class racing. Yeah, if you want to come check that out, if ACC is not your thing, but you're interested in SRA, be sure to jump on sra.gg and get the info there. Jess says he's built different. Who, Manning or Verstappen? Or both?
I'm going to go safe here and say both. He is only, though, this is rare for Mr. Manning the Machine. He's only 68 thousandths of a second clear of Brooker Quigg.
Yeah, Brooker did put in a stonking good lap there on his last effort, though. So not too surprising, because he's still, at this point now, he's three positions clear of the second place silver driver.
Everybody hold the phone.
Oh,
take
Brian.
a picture, write it down.
An Audi out front.
Huh.
Loving the rain, the German cars ready to rumble here in Spa. You wouldn't want it any other way. We've got German cars in the top 3 positions right now. I'm sure Manning will have something to say about O'Brien taking that pole away, although this lap he does not actually seem, as we're going to check out some of the other people on track. We do have Mr. Marecki here in his Aston Martin as he guides it around the track. He's on a pretty quick one right now. The other person making headway on his best lap time currently in a McLaren is Mr. Spangler, and his first lap was pretty decent at a 28.45, but he's up almost a second on it right now as he dives into the bus stop much quicker than he did the first time. He's gonna take pole right here.
A handy bit.
Absolutely. What a fantastic lap out of Spangler as he found a ton of time in the final 2 corners, and jumps out to pole by over 3/10. Sorry, just under 3/10.
See, O'Brien is not going to make it easy for him, though. Up about a 10th and a half right now. Excuse me. He's growing that delta. It's over 2/10 now. I don't think Manning's going to be on pole. He is not improving right now. He'll get one more shot at it, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to find the 4/10.
We will find out. Only time will tell. Literally, time will tell the story here. Rados in the Honda as well, putting in a pretty good lap. He's currently sitting in 7th as we take a look at him beginning his lap here. He's got a good run out of La Source, making up time on his Delta all the way down the Camel Straight. As the car in front of him there pulls over to not interfere with his lap, kind of him, as he must have already screwed up on his lap and just knew, I'm just going to get out of the way. That's the kind of courtesy you would expect to see here at SRA, and that's the kind of, especially with these D1 drivers, lots of racecraft, lots of gentlemanly conduct among these drivers. Again, if you're looking for good, clean, fun racing, come check out SRA.
And Spangler at it again right now. Up. Oh. Lost all the time coming out of Puhan, which is very easy to do.
He's like right on his last lap time. Now his Delta's going a little bit to the positive side, a little bit behind his really fast lap time he had last time, but Rados having a pretty good lap here. He's our biggest improver in the field right now, so we will stay with him on his Honda as he guides it around here. Hearing that our D4 race tonight has quite a bit less rain. That's the other fun thing about setting up rain settings in ACC is even the same forecast can basically have a different result. So even though all the servers are basically set up with the same settings, some of our races tonight could be dry for the whole race. It's a chance of rain. It doesn't mean it will definitely rain. Although right now in the D1 server, we are seeing a forecast of rain, 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 and more rain, and a very wet track right now.
I just want to confirm real quick. Did you say there was going to be rain?
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
that's
okay.
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Rados putting in a heck of a lap as he jumps up the leaderboard into 2nd place. Just the only one really to challenge Spangler's time. And Manning is trying his best to put in his final effort here, as we will see our current standing points leader and probably this season champion, Manning, try to wrestle the pole position here. He needs to gain almost half a second on this lap. Right now he's up about a 10th, so he would have to have a very strong rest of this lap. Let's ride on board as we continue down this epic, legendary classic track. Right now, it's not looking like he's going to pull it off, folks. He is currently behind on his Delta split, and he would have to make up a half second all in Sector 3. And that's extremely difficult to do. Still fun to watch him slide this BMW down around at the limit here as he searches for grip in every area of this track.
I think he's pushing a little too hard, honestly.
Well, qualifying's one thing. The race is another story. We will see who has the mettle to wrangle the car around for the whole time. We have an hour-long race here to try to keep the track. Oh, he throws it away in the bus stop, knowing that he either had to make it or break it. It was either make up a half second in the bus stop or not make the bus stop, and I don't think he made it. But that is the result of our qualifying. Jeff Spangler, your pole sitter this evening, and fantastic effort out of him as he takes the pole by 43 thousandths over 2nd place with his McLaren. Rados with a fantastic lap out of the Honda there just behind him. O'Brien hanging in strong with the Audi. We got a very diverse top 5 there with the McLaren, Honda, Audi, BMW, Porsche, and Ferrari in 6th. The Aston Martin is the next different car make down in 8th place. So our BOP function well. I just got the notification here. We definitely have wet conditions ahead, in case you didn't know. As we jump on board to check out our track map, or sorry, our grid walk, misspoke there. We are going to count them down here for you folks as we take a good look around the Spa circuit. A fantastic looking classic circuit. Spa Francorchamps. Maxie, count them down for us tonight.
All right, let's go. First time this season, we have Jeff Spangler on pole, followed by Rados in his Honda. Starting third tonight in the Audi is O'Brien, followed by a championship leader in his BMW, Mr. Michael Manning himself. Our first silver class driver of the night, the number 8 Porsche of Brooker Quigg, followed by Dan Cran in his Ferrari, followed by Michael Manning's teammate in the 747 BMW, starting 7th. We have Marecki. Oh, I do believe they got a new paint scheme here tonight. In the Aston Martin, starting 8th. We have Rust starting 2nd in silver in the Porsche. We have 10th place Ryder starting 3rd in silver tonight. Kelvin Lau starting 11th tonight in the McLaren. We have Flaminger in the Ferrari starting 12th. Robinson in the beautiful McLaren here. That is a gorgeous livery. Starting 13th. Starting 14th tonight in another McLaren is Mr. Wilson. 15th in the Porsche with the nice gold rims, nice touch, of Boardman. We have Cassis in the first Mercedes of the night starting 16th. Samedo in the McLaren starting 17th. Fazli Majid starting 18th. We have Nate Specht in the BMW. Still probably my favorite livery on the grid. Starting 19th. We have Carpenter starting 20th in the Ferrari. Starting 21st is Lehman in his BMW. 22nd is the Porsche of Louis. 23rd, the McLaren of Schwartz, followed by the Mercedes of Dominic Durrance. We have Coadromo in the Mercedes starting 25th, followed by Troxclair and Crown in their McLarens. And bringing up the field tonight, flashing his lights there, is Mr. Alvarado in the Honda.
Alvarado, a strong challenger in the Honda. Interesting to see him as he has not qualified. I don't know if he was not allowed to qualify this session, or if he just was unable.
Had a quali ban.
Okay, yeah, that explains it then. As we watch them form up, start their formation lap, headed up through Radion, and we will see so much action through this corner. Although it would take a bold soul to go side by side down into Radion and Harouge, and these kind of conditions. It's tough to stick it side by side through these corners, even if it isn't raining. But geez, in the rain, it's just that much sketchier to go side by side through any of these corners.
Oh, absolutely, and thankfully they cut out La Source there at the start. Otherwise, these drivers tonight would have quite a run up through Eau Rouge for the first time. But due to the nature of the start-finish, or excuse me, just the start line, you don't get the monumental run up through Eau Rouge. It's more of a gradual run, limits the amount of accidents. So I think these guys should be able to keep it clean, but I'm still going to be watched from the heli cam over 20th position, just in case I am wrong and there is a massive accident.
We will pull up our picture-in-picture for that, so we will hopefully bring you action from every side of the field, as hopefully the picture-in-picture will start working. There it goes. So Max, he'll give you a view of further down the field, as we will try to stay with your leaders. Speaking of leaders, Brooker Quigg, top silver qualifier, jumped it all the way up in 5th place. So he's a top 5 starter as a silver driver. Did a fantastic job. Our resident go-kart champion, bringing the heat here in the rainy Spa weather, as he put his Porsche very high up. Rust, your 2nd place silver driver, is just a couple spots behind him, and Ryder right behind that. So those guys will be duking it out for those silver championships, as we mentioned. And we will keep an eye out front, of course, to see if Manning can keep his perfect win streak alive, as he will have to do that from 4th place tonight. So a much bigger challenge than starting on the pole, especially in the wet weather. Max Diggs in the chat asking if Alvarado had a Q-band. We do believe he did have a Q-band. That is why he is starting last place.
I thought I saw a 969 quali band, but it must have been 269 because there is no 969 in the field. Might need to go talk to my optometrist tomorrow.
Well, you could see well enough to drive a GTP car around at high speed for 12 hours, so that worked out.
I just wish the guy behind me was able to see that well.
Yeah, let's not talk about that guy. We definitely won't talk about the other guy at the end of this.
I have no words except laughter.
I guess. All right, folks, we are getting ready to go racing here as we focus in on your leaders lining up 2 by 2 as they head into the bus stop. And so, Maxie, you've been saying they don't start until after La Source. Is that correct? Or I thought they started on this straightaway right here.
No, it is after La Source. Yeah.
Okay. So there is no green flag yet as they still are forming up here. And we are getting ready to go racing as we get an overhead shot as this field gets ready to go. And we cannot wait to see what kind of action these guys will bring us here in the wet weather as we get ready to make the final turn through La Source, and the green lights will come up as we are ready to do some racing. Division 1 action here from Spa, and we are bringing it to you live from SRA. And thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Enjoy the race, and we are ready to get started. We have Jeff Spangler leading away on pole with Rados there, ready to challenge him in his Honda. Not far behind, we have our points leader Manning trying to make time up from 4th position as we go under the Total Energies banner. There's the green flag, and they are off and away. They are going side by side through Eau Rouge. The wet weather caught a couple people out there, but it looks like we are clean for the top 5 at least, maybe even the top 10.
The entire field clean through. Top 28.
Fantastic work from everybody as they did a great job getting through the tricky couple of corners here, especially in the wet weather. And Spangler able to maintain his lead out front. Rados very close behind. And it does look like Manning was able to overtake O'Brien, so already moved up to 3rd position as O'Brien is trying to wrangle that Audi around here in the wet Spa.
And O'Brien has a drive-through. I wonder if he was out of position at the start.
Oh no! I've
maybe
seen
speeding at the start.
Possibly was he either speeding or slightly out of position. Especially in the wet weather, I've seen it where ACC can get a little bit goofed up with its start alignment and stuff like that. I actually got a drive-through penalty in one of the races last season, or maybe it was 2 seasons ago, a wet weather race, and we went to start and immediately got a drive-through, and I felt like I was right in the right position. So whether I was out of position because I couldn't see very well, or I think sometimes the game struggles a little bit in the wet weather for some reason. Sorry, the sim. I didn't call it a game.
And we had a little bit of contact, but everybody was able to keep it nice and clean coming out of pre-on.
Fantastic. As we get some overhead action here, checking back on our silver leader, Brooker Quigg, holding it down. He's got a little bit of gap on either side of him, feeling pretty secure there with his 1st place silver as he builds the gap behind him and has some space in front of him to run as well. Our top 4 are kind of stretching their legs out in front as Manning tries to hunt down Rados in front of him, but it looks more like O'Brien is putting pressure on him behind. Now, O'Brien, remember, has that drive-through penalty, and there he goes. He dives in now, so that'll open up even more space for Brooker Quigg to have nice, clean track in front of him. In the wet weather, it is hugely beneficial to have a 2-3 second gap in front of you. The amount of time you can make up without having that spray right in your face is just huge. So that's one of the things Spangler has going for him out front as he sets the purple lap on the first lap. But not that a purple lap matters that much on the initial lap, but he is quickest around the track for the first time.
And it looks like we have our first pit takers of the night. Coadromo and Alvarado already into the pits. Take their required fuel and tires.
All right, and O'Brien obviously can't do any excuse me, can't fulfill his required pit stop. He just has to serve the drive-through penalty. If he had stopped, that would have negated him serving the penalty. So he has to go through the pit lane again and actually stop to fulfill his pit stop requirement.
And this is definitely not the track where you want to get a drive-through.
Absolutely not. That is a huge.
And yeah, I think it is the longest.
Yep.
Pit lane.
Has to be the longest pit lane. It looks like
a minute and 12 seconds.
Yeah,
Yes.
he lost a minute and 12 just driving through. Coadromo and Nick Alvarado, they are stopped in their boxes now, and they're already like over a minute into their pit stop time lost before they even get to their pit box. So it's a huge time loss in the pit lane, and that's going to be hugely detrimental to O'Brien's race.
Did they have to start tonight with race fuel, or are they allowed to refuel at their pit stop?
I believe tonight is just the I would have to double check that. Maybe somebody in the chat can fill us in. I can't remember if this race is the 25-second mandatory time or if it's mandatory tires with no fuel.
They were stopped for 32 seconds, so they took tires for sure. And let's see, it's 25 seconds, I do believe.
Tire change mandatory is what we're getting in the chat.
Okay.
So that would usually mean
Tires and fuel if it was 30 seconds.
Right, but it would tires, and then usually when we do a mandatory tire stop, that would mean you're not allowed to fuel the car at all. So you'd have to start with full race fuel, and then you would have to change your tires. Could be wrong on this one, but that's what we did. Yeah, just tires only.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't get the luxury of sitting in the driver's briefing while we're getting the stream ready for the viewers.
We got to be getting ready for you guys. And thanks for being here tonight. This is Max Diggs. Good to see you. Everybody in the chat, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying the race so far as we tune in on some of the action here. Spangler maintaining that lead out front very nicely. A little further back, we got a bit of a train forming behind Brooker Quigg. He's holding down that 5th spot as a silver class driver, but Dan Cran and Mr. Sir want that spot back. And you know, honestly, I mean, Brooker Quigg doesn't have to give it to him, but at the same time, he's not like losing points in his championship necessarily by giving those spots up, although he does gain points. And obviously, the more cars he keeps between him and Rust, the less chance Rust has to pass him. So.
Yeah, if I was Brooker Quigg, I'd just be focused ahead. Don't worry about those license plates. It's his position. It's on the driver behind to overtake him.
Oh, and he does get a little wide here, and it does look like Dan Cran is going to go side by side with him as they... Ooh, man, they are keeping it close here. Super tricky to do this in the wet conditions. Those corners are slippery even in dry conditions. Very flat, almost slightly off camber. Some of the more slippery corners in the track right here as we come out onto the back straight headed down towards the bus stop.
That traction the Porsche was able to provide Mr. Quigg there is probably going to be enough to keep Dan Cran behind. As
Dan Cran's on the higher speed though, coming in, and then they get awfully wide. It looks like Mr. Sir is going to dive on that opportunity as Cran got a little loose maybe in the dirty air right behind the Porsche of Brooker Quigg.
And we have an overtake right now. Ryder is making his way around Flanger.
Sure did. Flamger's not going to take it sitting down, though, as anytime you overtake through the bus stop, the run down to La Source provides a second opportunity, but it looks like Ryder positioned his car very nicely to
Blows it into La Source,
block that off. So there we see the overtake, and it almost looks like Lau was thinking about ducking in there and stealing that position as well, as it looks like Flamger just got a little bit caught out going into the bus stop there as we watched this action continue. Hopefully these guys will provide some more entertainment later on. Brooker Quigg continues to maintain that 4th spot, but boy, it's getting close now. Mr. Sir going side by side with him at the end of the Camel Straight into Les Combs as he tries to take the outside, but thinks better of it, backs out of there, because that could have been the end of his race as Brooker slides a little bit wide with that Porsche.
That's always an interesting place right there. If the driver on your inside is respectful and clean, they will slow down enough to where you can have a move around the outside into Les Combs, which then puts you on the inside to the second part of Les Combs. But then if they're still side by side, the driver that was on the inside initially is on the inside again. So great combo right there for side by side racing, and you won't lose too much time going side by side through there.
Always hope for respectful drivers, although even in dry conditions, that braking down into Les Combs is just super tricky. I can't count how many times, even after I mean I've probably done thousands and thousands of laps out of this track in sims, and the number of times the rear ends come around on me turning into that first right-hander, and I've just been completely surprised by it. Just like, what the, oh, it's such a tricky corner because you're braking so hard down in there, and you lose so much time if you don't brake as hard as you can into that, because you're carrying so much speed down the Camel Straight.
And the way you need to set your car up around here, if you want to be able to defend and attack during the race, is low downforce. If you want to set a quick quality time, you can get away with going a little bit higher downforce and making up a second or more in that middle sector where downforce is king. But you need that mechanical grip to give you the turn in. You can't rely on aero, but it's a double-edged sword there on turn in. When all the weight is on that front axle, that rear end has no big old wing on the back pushing it down, and it just wants to come right around on you.
Sure does. Now, Brooker Quigg has built himself a little bit of breathing room here as we see Mr. Sir fell back a little bit there. I don't know if he just decided, it's not worth pushing on this right now. It's going to be interesting to see the pit strategy here tonight, too, with the mandatory tire change, as we do see Dan Cran.
And the picture is a perfect example of what I was... and Marecki gets in the back of Mr. Dan Cran and spins him right around.
Oh, my goodness. Unfortunately, that is what we are seeing on our screen, and Marecki lost a couple positions out of it, but Dan Cran tumbles way down the order. Respectfully waits, doesn't dive back into traffic, but that is going to tumble him all the way down to 22nd position. And then there's a large gap in the field there, all the way back to Nate Specht, and then a bigger gap back to O'Brien. So these are your drivers, the last two drivers who haven't completed their mandatory pit stop. But now O'Brien, he did have the drive-through penalty, so that explains him back here. I'm not sure what happened to Nate Specht. If anybody saw in the chat that we missed something with him, or has an update from the inside of that team, maybe this is what
right now.
Maybe this is what's been happening to Nate Specht. Maybe he's just not having the best time around a very wet Spa track. As Majid looks like he did an overtake on Robinson right here. Let's see if we can rewind and see what happened here. Looks like he got inside. Robinson just got a little bit wide, and he was able to take that position away from him very cleanly.
It's so easy to do through Puhan right there. The car gets a little loose on entry or mid-corner, you're going to spend the rest of the corner trying to gather it back up, and you'll lose a half a second on a good day.
Horecki trying to make the time back up as he's close on the back of the bumper of Lau after that incident. Doesn't look like he's suffered any damage as he's still very quick. Unfortunately, after he
Ryder beautiful up and under into the bus stop.
Let's take a look on this full screen. Let's see if we can get the action here as Ryder overtakes. Got a good run down the straight. Gets inside. And then defends the apex well. And wow, the Porsche not able to get off the corner as fast as I thought. He must have just spun the tires a little bit there.
And coming up through the Kimmel Straight, though, I do believe Boardman is going to have a really good run on Ryder, but gets a little wide there at the Radeon, so.
And behind him, we got action as it looks like Majid there was going wide, or no, that was Robinson.
Yeah.
As they are side by side down the Camel Straight, headed into Lacombe.
Oh,
Let's see how this ends up. Very close together as they touch slightly. He decides to take the exit road over the speed bump there, maintains his position, and he will probably just kind of have to give that up. Now he's side by side with Louis behind him as well. Struggling, and he loses control here as well. Unfortunate there, as Robinson seems to be struggling quite a bit. Perhaps overheated the tires or something, but yeah, not having the best race at the moment.
Trying to make up all that time in one corner and did it in one of the worst ways possible, trying to do it under braking. Not a good idea. Try to make up time and hold a position under braking.
Now Lehman all over the back of him as well. Keeping an eye on things up front.
Top 3 have closed. Yep. Top 3 have closed back up again. They're all pretty much within a second of each other.
Yeah, Rados.
Rooker Quigg, though, holding it at 5 seconds, pretty much. So he's no slouch tonight. He deserves to be there.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job as a silver class driver, holding down a top 5. Other close battles. It looks like Louis did get around Majid here, as Majid might have had an issue because he already gapped him pretty heavily, and it looks like Carpenter coming up close behind Majid already, so pretty sure he had a poor run through the last couple of corners as we're headed down towards the bus stop now. He seems to recover. Danny Durant's having some issues. Seems like he's off over here. Sure enough, looks like he got a little wide through the kink there, headed down towards the bus stop. And he will head straight to the pit lane. Looks like he made some contact with the front end there. His hood's flapping in the breeze, which is not something you can have happening around Spa.
Good thing, though, with that Mercedes, that giant air vent in the hood, you can still see through it.
If the hood does come up, you can just look right through that, right?
I think Jeremy Clarkson did a similar thing in a Range Rover in Bolivia one time.
I think I remember that. Alvarado trying to make up these positions from the back of the pack. He's close on the back of Coadromo as they have completed their pit stop, so we will keep an eye out on them as the drivers in front of them have to basically go ahead and plan on losing about 1 minute and 45 seconds worth of time of race time anytime they're in the pit lane, and that's basically the minimum time is 1:46, right? Is the time lost we're seeing right now in the pit lane. That's 3/4 of a lap. I mean, that's a significant amount of time.
Good thing about it, though, is everyone else will have to do a similar stop. I just hate that for O'Brien. My guess is probably speeding at the start, but still, a minute and 12-second penalty is massive for something so minuscule.
Yeah, and especially considering he was starting in the top 5, that's heartbreaking. Glad he's staying in the race, though. I know a lot of guys getting that kind of penalty on this track might have just been like, well, you know what, I don't even want to do this tonight. And big props to him for still hanging in there. 22nd place right now, got the purple lap. So he's putting the effort in.
Yeah, I mean, and also, this being a wet race, wet tires don't degrade that much in ACC, so he could always wait till that last possible second
to dive into the pits and hope for trouble ahead to help him gain back some of those positions.
Yeah, Niccolo run. It's so tonight it's mandatory tires and there's no fueling allowed. So, yeah, definitely lots of factors going into a perfect pit. Of course, stopping right perfect in your pit box, shutting your ignition down, and of course on entry you can lose a lot of time if you don't get your braking right. Especially in the wet, it's kind of tricky to gauge how you're going to slow down for the pit speed limit sign. We see a little more action here on screen. It looks like Durant's coming back out into the action as a lapped car. Did get the damage fixed there as he's still kind of sliding things around on the fresh tires, but our leaders make it by him without incident.
Do believe for a second there, Kevin Lau did overtake Flameser, but lost it back to the source. It's a great area to defend. Really like that at the end of a long straightaway. They don't just give it to the car behind. They allow the following corners for good defense. You can defend into that corner and it's not a slam dunk pass after such a long straightaway. Down into the bus stop, you have to get pretty lucky with the up and under. But Kimmel straight into the source, incredible.
Yeah, most of these drivers would more than likely be heavily prepared for an up and under attempt as far as the switchback, and would defend that apex on the following corner pretty heavily after the overtake. And if you slow down and park it on the apex, basically the guy behind you has no choice but to slow down as well. The only thing you gotta be wary of is if you got a third guy back. So like if Flamber tried that move right now, Marecki would be right on the back door of both of them at that point, because the two of them are going to go quite a bit slower through that sequence of corners, and he's going to possibly just drive around both of them on the next straight.
Absolutely. Yeah, pretty much only thing you can hope for is the attacking car overshot their braking and has no choice but to go deep and come back. But and let's see here, Kevin Lau into the pits. Says that is enough for me. Let me get out of this spray.
Yeah, hopefully we can see some close racing action, although it's very difficult to stay close to another car in this. Looks like Boardman fell quite a few positions here. What happened? Looks like he just kind of screwed up his bus stop a little bit.
Mr. Sir has a big old run here on Brooker Quick. He did cut Radion though, so he probably did get a track cut for that, and don't think it'd be too gentlemanly to cut a good portion of the track and then try to overtake somebody down at the end of the Kimmel Straight.
Carpenter looking to put some pressure on Lehman here as well. He's a silver class driver looking to overtake a gold class driver. The BMW seems to be struggling a little bit in this wet weather compared to the mid-engine cars, and the I mean, look at Manning, who's dominated so many of these races. You know, he's sitting fairly decently in third place, but he's not really challenging or has seen. We're not seeing that massive speed out of him like we have. And then here, obviously, we see Lehman, a gold class driver in a BMW, holding up a couple of silver class drivers as they're putting pressure on him from behind. Out front, Rados has closed that gap to Spangler pretty well too. It's down to under half a second. Chad Racing OG Crunchy team name. What a fantastic team name.
Say that 5 times fast. I will say though, the Honda is a bit notorious for being aggressive on throttle, so these guys to be challenging for the win in a car that doesn't have the best rear end traction speaks to the skill. And Mr. Sir into the pits.
Do have some action back here too. It looks like Marecki's still putting pressure on Flamger.
Louis is having an incredible race, up 12 positions right now. He is our biggest gainer and currently running 5th in silver.
Doing a great job. And Alvarado here continuing to try to put pressure on from the back of the pack, all over the back of Codromo in that Mercedes. Again, as you were saying, those Hondas, very tricky to drive as far as getting on throttle with them. And what a testament to the skill he's got in that car. Both him and Rados to be doing such a great job. As I say that, he gets a little bit wide. Wow, just barely rescues it back on the track and keeps it from the grass on the other side. That would have been a major accident. Even there, some major skill on display to not have that car be in the wall right now.
All right, so it is time to talk strategy. So we have Cassis
Currently sitting in first place of people who have stopped. Might have spoke too soon. I think Mr. Sir might be coming out in front.
looking at the gaps. I think he's going to have it.
Yeah, he will be just behind O'Brien. Now, O'Brien did do the drive-through, but still has to do his actual pit stop. So he will be the first place of the actual mandatory completed pit stop cars.
Mr. Sir currently is 1 minute and 37 seconds off of first place. And we're looking at if you nail it perfectly, a 1 minute and 46 second loss in the pit lane.
So
that
Jeff
would
Spangler
mean he would
take the lead.
cut the pace. It would.
Yeah.
By a handy margin.
By my math, that means he takes the lead. But now my math is not good. So
I think Michael Manning has seen the same thing we have and is pitting right now as well.
Hey, welcome to the chat, Sword and Keyboard. Thanks for coming in. And yeah, sorry, the Discord can be a little bit overwhelming at times. There's a ton of information in there, but feel free to open an admin ticket. Our admins are super friendly and helpful, and they will be able to help you out with anything you are looking for, and hopefully SRA can provide. This is going to be curious. Max Diggs saying this is going to be interesting how it shakes out after the pit stops, and I agree. It is going to be an interesting thing, as Rados and Spangler out front have yet to pit, but that gap they have back to the pitted cars
is currently right now for Mr. Sir, who has been out on track for a minute, is 1 minute and 38 seconds.
Yeah.
That's 4 seconds to the good. And Sir Michael Manning out
now
of the pits.
Manning's even closer. So Manning pitted, and he's now 127. So he would be firmly in the lead.
This is going to be interesting. I want to watch Manning's lap times here. I mean, at the front, they're running 228s, which is better than anybody else in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going slowly.
Yeah. And O'Brien continuing to crank in his purple laps. I mean, he's very quick with 228.8s there as well. He's driving a little bit of
227.8. That's as fast as that is quick.
Yeah, a little bit of fire in his belly after that drive-through. I think he's decided he's just going to make it up on the track. It's going to be very difficult. But here we see Rados very close to Spangler as they're going through Eau Rouge and Radion up the hill as they head down the Camel Straight. Is he going to have enough of a run here on Spangler? Looks like he might have lost a little bit of time there through Radion, but he is gaining on those straightaways. Fortunately, just probably not close enough to make any kind of move here into Lacombe.
Down here in the picture-in-picture, we're just seeing what Jeff Spangler is seeing. This is a mirror full of a Cheetos Honda.
OG Crunchy. O'Brien moves up another couple spots as Boardman and Crown dive into the pit lane. Unfortunately, O'Brien still does have to take that mandatory pit stop. And he would probably, if he wants to optimize the tire strategy, would be taking that any time. Although I'm not sure how much tire wear we actually see on the wet tires in this weather.
You didn't hear this here, but not completing the mandatory pit stop is a 90-second penalty.
So it takes less time than you would lose in the actual pit lane.
So you might as well. It's not a DQ. It's just a 90-second added to your race time.
I thought it was 130 seconds.
I'm not speaking from experience here. But I'm fairly certain it is. It is 90 seconds.
Okay.
It might be different for Spa though, because
yeah, maybe they upped it.
It is. I mean, that would make sense to me.
Yeah, the Nicola run, the pit time that we're seeing at the pit delta is about a 147, 146 for a perfect stop. So you're losing 1 minute and 50 seconds basically if you pit. And what we're discussing right now is possibly taking the penalty is less time than that. So.
And also, when you create these sessions, you can put in rules. If you don't serve the mandatory pit stop, it can be a DQ. But
yeah,
I'm not sure what they're doing here.
They could, yeah. You'd have to double check SRA's ruling on this situation as far as what I'm sure they were advised in the driver's briefing. They're always very good on going over that stuff as far as what the penalties and what the expectations are for every race. Rados continuing to put pressure on our leader, Jeff Spangler, but from the looks of things, after they pit, neither one of them is going to be in the lead. It looks like Mr. Sir and Michael Manning would both come out in front of them as things stand right now when they take the pit stop. Or have they already discovered the strategy that we were just discussing and they're just not going to pit?
We will know in about 29 minutes and 15 seconds.
Even if they don't, the 90-second penalty would put Manning in the lead right now.
It sure
a minute
would.
and a half, so.
Yeah, no, they're going to lose the lead for sure. To Manning at least.
Sir close behind him.
Okay, so last lap, Michael Manning a 28.3, Jeff Spangler a 28.5. So, well, now that I think about it, Manning was only about a second off. So, if he can string together 5 laps where he's 2/10 quicker, that's the lead right there.
It's possible that there's something wrong with our pit delta calculator too. But as of right now, it looks like that's going to be hugely beneficial to have pitted earlier for some reason.
Yeah.
This may be the most informative stream ever, the chat says.
Hey, the drivers.
Oh, shoot. Somebody
that
got
our D1 here?
Yeah, Manning got a DT, drive-through penalty, probably for track cuts. And that is going to be hugely detrimental to his race. We are basically not going to expect to see him probably even top 10 after something like that. And Schwartz right behind him gets another drive-through as well. And we are seeing things fall apart for many people, as well as Mr. Carpenter here. Let's see if we can go back and find out what happened to him. Looks like he may have lost it through one of the most treacherous corners in all of motorsport. Got up too high on the curbing there, and then on the curbing on the outside, and that is a huge hit on the wall on the outside of Radion.
The traffic, though.
Yep. Held his brakes like a professional should, and slid to a stop. Looks like he's going to limp it around the course, but I would imagine he's got some pretty heavy damage after that impact with the wall.
Just aim for the wall, hold those brakes. If you get into a situation like that, high speed in the wet, you're not saving the car. Just go ahead and accept your fate and don't run anybody else's race.
Alvarado continuing to pile the pressure here on Coadromo, just hunting for a spot around that wide butt of that Mercedes, as he is our closest gap on track right now, although I guess some of our pit stop guys are diving in now as well. Spangler and Quigg both staying out front, so we do have Rados has decided to take his pit stop. Basically, I think he might have decided Spangler was actually slowing him up at this point. And
very strange. Rust and okay, here we go. It's sorting out now. There goes Rados back. Rados was shown behind two people, but must have been a...
we got action into the bus stop as Alvarado, Dromo, and Flamger all make contact, and they're still sorting things out as Alvarado is bounced like a pinball between a McLaren and a Mercedes. But he does come out ahead of Koa after all said and done. Koa the big loser in that pack, as he ended up losing a couple of positions. And it looks like Alvarado will actually end up ahead of both of those guys in the end. Kevin Lau and Coadromo both falling down to Alvarado through some not the cleanest overtakes through there through the bus stop. It gets really confusing looking at our telemetry right there with everybody moving through the pit lane right now. Spangler in the pit now, and that looks like the only people left on track then that will not have pitted will be Brooker Quigg, Louis, and Schwartz. And yeah, Spangler going to come out now. We will see where he comes out.
Rados should comfortably be in the lead.
I would think so.
If our deltas are correct. Mr. Sir is most likely going to overtake him as well. Schwartz is a bit of a Hail Mary, but we'll see.
We will follow Schwartz here as he finishes out the second half of his lap, headed towards the back straight down to the bus stop. If he can get there before Spangler gets moving in that pit lane, because Spangler hasn't even made it to his pit box still.
No, and here he comes. That is Michael Manning we see there, parked in front of Mr. Spangler.
Wow, he decided to stop instead of just take the drive-through?
Well, he would have come out essentially last.
Here he comes out of the bus stop as we head towards the front straight. He will come around La Source. Spangler still in the pit box, has not been dropped off the jacks yet, as he
still has about 5 seconds.
Requiring that mandatory tire change. Rados rounding through La Source, headed down through Eau Rouge.
Yeah. He's going to have
and
him.
He will have the lead of this race.
It's actually going to be a lot closer than we thought.
Barring Brooker Quigg still out front as a Silverclass driver yet to pit. But no, yeah, so Spangler does come out front. I would say our delta is a little bit, calculator is just a little bit off as far as how much time we're actually losing in the pit lane.
Yep. It must start it as they dive off of the racing track instead of when they actually, enter the pit lane where you have to have your pit limiter on.
That could be it. Now, so we basically end up with the same positions we were looking at. Rados, half second behind Spangler. for the lead of the race. Brooker Quigg is still out in front of them, but he does still have to pit. I'm sure he knows that he needs to pit this time, unlike the last time that he somehow did not know that.
Well, so let's see here. Schwartz in 5th place is our next silver driver. He is currently roughly a minute and 30 seconds off of Brooker Quigg. So
we'll have another chance to test the pit delta. We got about 22 minutes left in this race for things to sort them all out. Yeah, Max Diggs, sorry, we didn't know. We don't have really a good way to go farther back for replays, but there was definitely some rub and racing there in the bus stop. Jess, I think the green car you were referring to is Lau. That was mixed up in that action?
Yes. It had to be.
Oh, it was Kelvin? Yeah. Diggs confirms. Apparently he got the replay himself.
Rewinded the stream,
Yeah.
sounds like. Looks like Alvarado had an incident. He was yellow there for a second and fell about 5 places.
Oh no, yeah, he was doing well too. Although he was mixed up in that incident we were just talking about, as looks like he did lose all those positions back that he gained through that kerfuffle at the bus stop a few laps ago. Romo does drop another position though to Lau there, as they are battling still.
Schwartz into the pits.
Now I think Schwartz he had a drive through, and then he got the drive through, and then he had to pit as well. Pretty sure he was one of the ones that got a drive through at the same time Manning did.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Will Kill for food. He put him into the wall after Eau Rouge, after that bus stop incident. Okay. Yeah, sorry, we were too busy looking at our pit stop strategies to keep track of all the action, but appreciate you guys keeping everybody up to speed.
From 8th all the way back to 16th. These guys are just on top of each other. You have 8 cars covered by 6 seconds.
Yeah, pretty close racing here. With 20 minutes to go, these guys are all bunched up. They figured out the limit of grip that these cars have in the rain. They got some fresh tires on there now, and they are ready to rumble.
All right, Brooker Quigg into the pits. So currently, we didn't catch that just as he came in. He's been in the pits now for a minute and 10 seconds. He's stopped currently, so.
His gap was about a minute and a half, though, right?
It was about a minute.
Driver?
It was to Schwartz, yeah. To Spengler, though, it was about a minute and 10 seconds. So if he comes out about 30 seconds behind Spengler, we'll know it's accurate.
Right.
But my guess is it's probably going to be more like 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think we're looking at more like a minute 30 or so being lost in the pit stop, maybe even a little bit less. Rados continues to headhunt Spangler for the lead of this race, doing a really great job throwing that Honda around the track.
I should do this for a living. Brooker Quigg currently 16 and a half seconds off the lead.
You are pretty good at it, Maxie, I'll admit it.
The numbers don't lie.
That math stuff. I just like to drive race cars. I don't like to do maths.
Ooh, Durant's another issue. Going
Oh, no.
slowly on the outside of the track.
And here we had Marecki looking to make an overtake.
Still sliding.
But is now off the track. Let's go back and see exactly what happened here. They were side by side coming into Lacombe here basically, and it looks like they just got a little bit of touching under braking, and he got bounced to the grass. And he spun out pretty heavily there. He did finally get the rear end of the car back under control and is back under the on the track. He maintained 7th position after that. St. Pepsi, I wish this was a mandatory refuel race so no one would be close to anyone. Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Yeah, we do have a consistent amount of rain through this whole race. We haven't seen any changes in the weather, so definitely no question as to what your strategy is. Just keep it on the track with this wet weather, and you'll probably do pretty well. Although the D1 drivers compete no matter what the conditions.
I have a suspicion that Rados is running a bit of a higher downforce setup. If you notice through sector 2, he gets it down to about 1/10 of a second. But as soon as they get onto the straightaways, the McLaren just walks away. I mean, perfect example right here at the Kimmel Straight. He's put almost 3/10 on him from the bottom of the source. 4/10 now.
Marecki and Flamger having a heck of a battle here through the bus stop. Flamger got the better exit though and was back ahead by LaSource, and now they're starting to stack up behind him. Rust in his Porsche right there ready to pounce if either one of these two gets a little bit too giddy with their battle, and we've seen that happen once already, so we will see as they come down the straight again here that Aston Martin making up time on that Ferrari.
And Ryder with the drive-through.
Oh no, and then also Alvarado gets a drive-through, as he's been making up positions all evening after starting in last place. That is going to drop him dramatically. He decides that's enough for him this evening, unfortunately. That is one thing about sim racing. You don't have to drive the car back to the pits to quit. You can just alt F4 right where you're at. Hopefully it doesn't involve any keyboard smashing or mouse smashing or monitor smashing afterwards.
Now that sounds like somebody speaking from experience.
I don't know anything about that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on now. 2/10. They're coming up to the bus stop. Spangler wide. Spangler better be careful through there. That is a notorious corner to get a drive-through or a track cut.
Yeah, sure is. And
I think Rados probably have a really good run right here. If he can make Spangler defend into the source.
We'll put him on the big screen here and see if he can get something done. He gets super close under braking there, and if he can maintain that kind of gap getting back on the power, he will definitely have a run by the time they get down to Lacombe. As long as he can get safely through Eau Rouge that close to a car in front. Gosh, it's hard to go that close to a car in front of you through Eau Rouge, and he will attempt it. As he can keep the run going here, they will head down the Camel Straight.
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes. If you get such a good run out of La Source, by the time you get to Eau Rouge, you have to let out of the throttle.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just going to wreck both of you going up through there. Boardman with another drive-through. As we see this track continue to take victims to its track limits, it is a very tricky track to continue to maintain your discipline around, especially in the wet weather. Durant's looks like he might be calling it quits for the evening, as he is parked on the side of the track, and probably looking for the escape button. No, he looked like he started moving again, but we will see. He looks like he is not having the best night, that's for sure.
The great equalizer.
We want to
Wet
see
weather.
streams requesting looking at car 114. Let's see. O'Brien is still setting blistering fast laps after his drive-through. He's now in P21.
A 27.6. Man, he's flying.
His last lap at 28.4, but yeah, he is still holding the purple lap at a 27.56, which is a very, very quick lap in the rain. And the only person anywhere close to that is Rados, who is currently right on the rear bumper again of Spangler as we continue to try to see if he can overtake. I agree with what Maxie said earlier. It seems like he's got a higher downforce setup. It seems like through the twisty bits here in the middle of the course, he's able to make up time on Spangler quite a bit. But once they get to the straightaway, that McLaren just kind of walks, and there's no chance to overtake.
There was a great race. It's been 2 seasons ago, I believe now, at Watkins Glen. I had a Porsche all over me through Sector 2. But as soon as we came up to that, after turn 1, I would build almost a half a second gap. So I wouldn't have to defend anywhere, because through the twisty bits there at Watkins Glen, as long as you can put the car on the apex, there's really no overtaking opportunity. I feel like that's probably the situation that Spangler is in right now. Just
wow, Rados gets very loose, and Spangler gets a drive-through. Spangler gets a drive-through penalty after he gets a little
Rados,
wide.
I'm backing out of it so hard right now. I'm just going to try to keep the
coast to the win as he has a 15-second gap behind him to third place, and that'll pretty much wrap that up. Unless, I mean, it is wet out there, and O'Brien gets another drive-through, second drive-through of the night.
Oh.
He got the one off the start. We're not really sure what happened to the start. This one was more than likely for track limits. And we are seeing these D1 drivers have a bear of a time with these track limits here around a wet Spa-Francorchamps course. And that has got to be just gut-wrenching for Spangler, looking at that drive-through penalty next to his name right now in that car. And props to him for not just totally falling apart right now, because, I mean, he's led this race from start and was going to lead probably till the finish. But right now, he's probably going to fall quite a few places as he has to serve that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, he's going to fall back to 21st, potentially. That is rough.
To finish first, you must first finish.
We should add a little caveat to that.
Who said that?
You must. I want to say Carol Shelby, but I don't think that's right.
Boy, these guys are still tempting fate, getting awful wide through that corner, going down to the bus stop. And, I mean, getting out on that paint, number one, is first super slippery, and number two, you're just going to drive through every single time. But these guys do it all for the lap time. As Spangler does immediately go in to serve that drive-through, we will watch him, unfortunately, tumble down the leaderboard, and we will keep an eye on where he comes out, if he's able to salvage some good points from this race at all. It is a chance for some other drivers to make up some points with Manning going out, but unfortunately Spangler is not going to be one of the high scoring points guys here at this point. He will probably still score some points if he's able to get back out of the pit lane without any further incident.
Yeah, so look, most likely 20th place. I'll fall to just, I hate that for him. He drove a really good race, and the wet conditions here at Spa, and it really suits the McLaren, all the medium speed corners.
straightaways. Hate that for him.
Dan Cran putting some pressure here on Troxclair, trying to make up some positions as well after he had a little bit of an incident earlier on in the race, but Spangler looks like he is rejoining the action.
Yeah, so our pit delta is definitely messed up. I'm looking right now at Spangler's delta loss, and it is telling me 1 minute and 12 seconds is what he lost doing that drive-through, but he is only 54 seconds off of the lead.
Okay. Yep. So it's about 20 seconds off. That's what we were thinking too. It's about 1 minute 25 for the pit stop actually, instead of 1 minute 45. And well, we will see. Spangler obviously still has a lot of pace in that car. He could make up a couple more positions, possibly even get up to 16th or 15th by the end of the race with a couple laps left here to go. But I guess probably not. It's a pretty big gap in front of him there. But Sumito could fall to him. Robinson not too far ahead of that, so possibly those two positions. But it's going to be a big ask.
About 3 laps to go. Okay.
Rust here about our closest gap. We have a pretty large group forming all the way back still from about 7th place all the way to where Dan Cran and Travis Robinson are. That's a pretty tight gap all the way through there. So anything could still happen here, folks. There's lots of mayhem that could unfold very quickly in the rain, and hopefully none of that happens. These guys have all done a great job keeping it clean here on this race, even with the drive-through penalties. It's very easy to get frustrated and have drivers that are pushing way too hard from the back of the pack. And as usual, these guys brought us a fantastic race this evening. With about 5 minutes left to go, we have Rados running away with it out front after that penalty to Spangler. Mr. Sir is about 15 seconds back from him, just wrangling that BMW around the course. Every time I look at both him and Manning when they were driving here tonight, the back end just seems to be stepping every which way on them. It's just amazing that they're able to keep that thing under control. Brooker Quigg holding down the silver class first place, 3rd place on the podium. So what a fantastic job to him. Oh, geez, we get more drive-throughs popping up. Red flags everywhere. 7th place, Russ takes a drive-through. 12th place, Louis takes a drive-through. O'Brien, I think, has just decided to hang his hat on his purple lap and perhaps call it a night. Him and Durant's both just sitting in the pit lane, perhaps just using their camera to watch the race from there. Now it looks like we got a little bit of a battle here with Lehman trying to come with Louis here, and they are very close with Dromo as
I tell you right there, speaker's corner, and go Dromo right here almost illustrated my point. You have to be so precise there when you get on the throttle, because if you hit the corner right, you run it wide out onto those red and white painted curbs. I hate to call them curbs because there's really no curb. But if you get on it a little too hard, like he did just then, the car will whip around immediately, and you're already traveling, 80 to 100 miles an hour. So very small chance of saving it, and you're definitely losing a position. But he's able to gather it up much quicker than I could have.
Tricky high-speed corners all the way around this track for sure. We continue to see tight battling here. Majid not too far back as well, looking to possibly make a move on Louis back there, as we will see Rust. Louis is actually going to have to cough that position up as he is about to head in for his drive-through right here. Unfortunately, he should dive to the pit lane right there, and he does. And Rust as
to the bus stop around the outside. We got to watch a replay of that. That was some great drive. Never seen that.
These two right here.
Those two right there.
Let's take a look back. They're still side by side right now, but let's see.
And for Dromo down in the picture-in-picture. Oh my gosh.
As they go side by side through the second half of it, still side by side all the way down this straightaway here.
Oh my gosh, they're going over. Okay, thank goodness. Dromo backed out of it going into Eau Rouge.
Yeah, thought better of that one in the wet as they continue to battle, but it does look like Lehman did finally take that position away. Russ serving his drive-through, Louis serving his drive-through penalty. They will unfortunately lose probably 10 to 15 positions with that. And we'll see where they come out. So Spangler sitting in 17th place after his drive-through came all the way from the lead, unfortunately. And Rados did invalidate on that last lap. Don't know if that was a track limits penalty or not. But if I was him, I would be absolutely scared of the white lines on both sides of the track right now. It's just like, man, please. I mean, I don't know how many track limits he has right now, but I'm betting he has more than one. And
2, if not 3.
Yeah, it's got to be hard.
He has a 14-second gap out back. I would not be taking any corner at full throttle. Braking early. But sometimes as a driver, if you go too slowly, you will get out of rhythm.
Yeah, and it can cause even more detriment. You can just have a slow speed spin, and next thing you know, that 15-second gap you've got to second place evaporates. Mr. Sir taking it very cautiously in second place as well. He's got about a 4-second gap over Brooke and Quigg. Closest battle we got in our top 5, Marecki, still very close to Fimbres Casas. We haven't even talked about him tonight, and look at here he is in 4th place all of a sudden. I don't even know where this guy came from. I didn't even think this guy was racing, honestly. Like, we haven't seen him all night, and here he is holding down in 4th place and trying to hold on to that. Oh, Fazli Majid, another drive-through victim this evening, as he will tumble down the order as he serves that with about 55 seconds left to go. He might just take the penalty.
Take the penalty in this scenario.
Yep.
He's pitting. I would have taken the penalty in that scenario.
I would have personally just stayed on track and kept the position and let the it's hard to even say, though. Either way, it just pretty much sucks to take a drive-through, especially that late in the race. But we got about 30 seconds left to go here, and Rados seems to have this one wrapped up. This should definitely be his final lap, as he's only about halfway through the lap, and if that timer's at 0 when he crosses the line, that is the end of the race. So there's no way he's making it to that start-finish line before the timer is empty, unless he can set a record-setting lap here. But fantastic race out of him to keep this Honda on the course as he is finishing things up right now. We won't commentate or curse him any further. Marecki still trying to battle to get this 4th place away from Fimbres Casas. And it is a close one. That Aston Martin seems to have a little bit of a power advantage coming on to that Mercedes out of most of the corners. Great looking livery on that thing. Classic numbers on the side. Very clean. Both these cars looking really good as watch them battle for this. Wow, he thought about sticking it in there. That was a risky move, but they continue to keep it clean as they round out the last half of this lap.
Sometimes, even, let's just say Marecki was not legitimately trying to overtake there, him sticking that nose in there could throw Casas off.
Absolutely.
He doesn't want to get hit, so he'll back out of the corner and give the apex up and lose a significant amount of time. And Marecki has a heck of a run.
Yeah, he does.
Now, if he can, inside.
If he can keep clean air there, boy, he does, and he is going to try it down through the bus stop. I mean, you have to. And like Ayrton Senna said, if you don't try, you're not a racing car driver. And he will try. He's going to go back, and Fimbres Casas guards that apex beautifully, parks that Mercedes right where he needed to, and holds on to that 4th place. So that's it, folks. Rados, he's already back in the pit lane and finished. Mr. Sir behind him in 2nd place. Brooker Quigg coming home 1st in Silver Division, 3rd place on the podium. Fimbres Casas with a valiant fight to hold on to that 4th place. Marecki finishing in 5th. Wilson bringing it home in 6th place. Flamger coming home in 7th. Looks like Lau was able to bring home 8th. Lehman behind him in 9th. Coadromo bringing home your top 10 as he held on through some tough battles tonight. Lehman able to take that 9th place away from him. Troxclair behind him as our 3rd place silver driver. And you can see the rest of your lineup there, as these guys have given us a great series of action. Rust ended up coming in 17th after that drive-through penalty. And we got a few other people. Majid is back in the pit lane. I think he might have just called it quits from there. And overall, we had about 22 people finish a race that I think a little over 30 of them started. So Spa claiming its victims tonight, as a wet racetrack often does. But geez, what a challenging and awesome race here we had in Spa. And thanks for joining us tonight. Don't go away yet, though. We are going to hear from our top finishers as Russ decides to finish the race in style by putting it into the wall. And thanks again for everybody tuning in, and we will get straight to some interviews as soon as these guys jump out of their respective spots. And these guys take it seriously, so it takes them a minute to get into their chats where we can actually grab them up for the interviews. But it does look like Rados, our winner, is right in the chat right now, so we will grab him up and get him right into the interview booth. Andrew Rados, you got Dudley Do-Right and Maxie Poe up here in the commentary booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, I can.
Hey, man, congratulations on the race win tonight. It looked like it was treacherous out there for most of the evening. How'd things look from your perspective?
Yeah, following behind Spangler, I could barely see. And anytime I would go up Eau Rouge or through Blanchimont, I was basically death gripping my wheel. In the Honda, too. That's not a good combination.
Yeah, you had a fantastic race, though, man. Way to hold on to it. What were your thoughts when you saw that drive-through pop up for Spangler?
Well, I knew I was pressuring him pretty good. I knew I forced him wide on a couple turns, so I was kind of hoping to see that DT pop up. And yeah, I was pretty excited. Sucks for him, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean, pressure can make diamonds, or it can burst pipes. And tonight, it bursted a pipe, and you were right there to take that victory. Do you think you would have been able to get around him had it not been for that drive-through? Because through the second sector, you were able to close up to him. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you doing a little more downforce tonight?
I was running full wing, yes.
So
so that helped.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really drive the Honda without full wing in the wet.
Yeah.
But
you drive the Honda, period. So
yeah.
Congratulations.
I felt really good about my pace. As for passing him, I don't know. I felt I could, but I didn't want to send it and kill him. So, but yeah, it was close.
Yeah,
I mean,
fantastic
race.
Yeah, fantastic race, man. Were you? Did you have any track limit penalties? Were you concerned about getting a drive through yourself after Spangler did?
So I got 2 warnings my first 2 laps through Blanchimont right off the bat.
Oof.
And then I didn't get any the rest of the way through. I was basically driving very not aggressively through Blanchimont the rest of the race. Let's put it that way. I was doing a really big lift through there. So, yeah, I was scared of getting another one. But I kept seeing DTs popping up everywhere around me.
Oh yeah. Blanchimont, even if you let out of the throttle and don't gain time, that is still one of the corners that'll give you a track cut no matter what, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's very finicky, yeah. If you cut too wide, it'll give you one no matter what.
Yeah, very difficult.
You did an incredible job then, going, roughly 55 minutes without getting another one while still piling on that pressure. Perfect race time, man. You had ice in your veins.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. That was fun.
Yeah, fantastic result tonight. And going forward, next week, we are going to a brand new track for ACC at Red Bull Ring. How do you feel about that one?
I like that track a lot, actually. I don't know how the Honda is there, but I really like the layout. So it should be, there's a lot of good racing opportunities there. It's not too narrow of a track.
Yeah, a lot of side-by-side racing. I think Spa definitely holds the crown for side-by-side racing, especially up to the Kimmel Straight. I mean, starting at La Source all the way up through Les Combs.
But yeah, we'll see how Red Bull Ring goes next week, and go from there.
Fantastic job, man. Congrats again.
Man.
Do you want to give a shout out to anybody while you're up here on the podium?
Shout out to all the New World Sim Racing boys that were watching. My teammate Nick, I know he didn't have a good race today and last week, but he's been really helpful for me. He's been basically coaching me in the Honda, and without him, I wouldn't be able to be even driving this car as fast as I can. So, shout out to Nick, and yeah.
Awesome, man. Congrats again. We'll move you back to the race chat, and hope to see you again next week.
Thanks. See you guys next week.
All right, that was Andrew Rados, your race winner here at Spa, round 6 of the SRA Division 1 Championship. And next up, we're going to look for Mr. Sir, our second place finisher, and we will move him into our commentator's booth. Mr. Sir, you got Dudley Do-Right and Maxi Poe here in the commentating booth. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, man. We hear you too. Thanks for joining us for a moment here. Sorry to pull you away from the action in the breakdown booth there, but man, looked like a tricky race out there in the BMW. Every time we put the camera on you guys, both you and Manning, the back end seemed to be all over the place, that thing. How did you manage it out there tonight?
The back end, the front end, the side door, the driver's side door, you name it.
It's a little
the car
loose.
was a little loose, and then I was telling the guys that you get within literally a second of the car in front, and the whole setup just goes in complete reversal. So yeah, it was tricky nonetheless. There was multiple times where I should have bent it. I have no idea how I kept it together. More importantly, I have no idea how I'm P2 right now.
Hey,
but
consistency, my man.
Sometimes when you show up, good things happen, especially when you're not expecting anything good to happen in this race. So.
Yeah, fantastic job, man. Go ahead, Maxie.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say you drove a brilliant race. I just want to go back to your comment about the car being loose. Were you running a lower downforce setup tonight? Or was it... Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I mean, it's max downforce. You could get away with max downforce in the dry as well. But yeah, definitely not max downforce. I needed as much rotation that wouldn't kill me. And that was a whole nother issue with having to run higher TC than most. I'm losing time there. Having to run a safer setup even though I need rotation. It was, yeah, a complete crapshoot. And yeah, the setup was just as confident as I could make myself without completely throwing it into the wall.
Well, you fared better than your teammate, who's been unstoppable this season. Did you get any info from him or any feedback from him as far as, I know he got the drive-through. Obviously, you guys still holding on pretty strongly to that team lead. How do you guys feel about that situation, or have you guys had a chance to talk about that at all yet? Or
No, rightfully so. You know, he wanted to get away from it, and I would have been in the same situation. But I mean, looking forward on the calendar, it's not wet, so I'm saying we're gonna have a good chance to wrap this up.
Yeah. So speaking of that, looking next week, brand new track for ACC, Red Bull Ring. How are you looking for that?
Brand new track for ACC, but not brand new for me. Brand new in GT3, so I guess it's technically brand new, but big fan of Red Bull Ring. That's gonna be yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. I hope we get a higher turnout for that because first official SRA race with D1 on Red Bull, it's gonna be chaos.
Hey man, tell your teammate to quit winning every week. We might get higher turnouts.
Well, it didn't happen this week. But congrats again, man. Anybody else you want to give a shout out to while you're up here on the podium?
Yeah, I know. Not kind of a shout out, but I mean, big sorry for Jeff. I mean, he had that one wrapped up, and heartbreaking to see it go like that. And yeah, it's same for Michael. You know, was gonna perform really well, but you know, just the dreaded track cuts, especially in the wet. But yeah, thanks to everyone at Madhouse and Champion Motorsports for helping me out this week.
Yeah, man. Thanks for racing. Thanks for putting on a good show as always. And we'll send you back to the race chat, and hopefully we will see you again next week.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, boys.
All right, that was Mr. Sir, your second place finisher this evening. And I'm going to confirm this one more time, but we're going to take care of both our first place silver driver and our third place overall driver in the same interview, because that is Brooker Quigg bringing it home, first place in silver and third place overall. And hopefully we can find him here. Looks like our resident go-kart champion is in the race chat here, and we are going to drag him up by the ear into our Twitch booth. Brooker Quigg, you got Dudley Do-Right and Maxi Poe up here in the commentating booth. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Hey, man. Wow. Our resident go-kart champion brings home first place in silver tonight and third place overall. Fantastic race, man. Great result. How do you feel about the race? How did it look from your end?
It was tough. Wet races are always tough. Spa is especially one. It's pretty deadly in the wet. You probably saw that tonight with all the drive-throughs.
Oh, yeah.
I think the over-under was blown out on that one. I was actually nursing 3 track cuts myself, basically from 5 minutes in.
Oof.
So yeah, it was really, really challenging. The Porsche's a handful, to say the least, but it was really good. It was fun. Had some good battles.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Maxie.
Honestly, there towards the end, you were closing that gap to Mr. Sir. Did you feel like you had superior pace to maybe go and get that P2?
Yeah, I did. I was thinking about it. I was like, I can really, really push and try to get the P2. But then, looking at it, I'm like, do I take a drive through, especially on 3 cuts, take the drive through and then lose a lot of positions, or do I kind of just settle in, keep it safe and take P3 and silver P1? And I was like, that's kind of the smarter play, safer play for sure. But I was like, I was itching inside, just, that kind of like driver instinct. You're like, you really just want to push and get as many positions as you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was kind of torn a bit, but I went on the safe side and kept it nice and easy. But definitely inside, I was like, I should do it.
Yeah. You have the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Great race tonight, man.
Yeah, fantastic job, and I understand that feeling for sure. It doesn't matter whether you're fighting for 20th spot or second spot. You always just, racing car drivers want to race, right? We want to go. So, fantastic job with the self-control and being able to, think that through and think, it's not worth pushing and losing all these positions through a drive-through, because those drive-throughs were hugely detrimental with that log pit lane tonight. I'm sure you saw it. That wraps up this week. Fantastic wet race in Spa, and next week we go to a brand new track for ACC, Red Bull Ring. How are you looking on that one?
I actually haven't driven it yet, so next week might be really rough for me. Don't expect me to be in the booth again by the end of the race. Especially with the Porsche, the 991. It doesn't have the best top end, so it could be a tough race, just pace wise. But I think farther back in the field we'll have some good battles. There's a lot of really good drivers in D1 this season, so it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it, especially the challenge of it. And yeah, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for the league to run it, race it, and we'll see what happens. Could be carnage, could not be. So I guess we'll find out.
Sounds good, man.
You're gonna love the track. Incredible flow. I think there's a solid chance of you being back up in the booth. So don't count yourself out just yet, man.
If you got me willing, if you're willing me along, I'll do my best for you, Maxie. I'll push hard every lap. Even I'll go for the drive-through too. I'm pushing for Maxie. I
will not talk about you one time during the broadcast, so we will not give you any commentator's curse.
Perfect. I will take that.
That's the best we can do from our end. And from your end, anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're up here on the podium?
Oh gosh, a lot of the admins, just giving a shout out to them, just behind the scenes. I know how much work they put in, and definitely you guys as commentators. I know it's a tough job week in, week out to take an extra hour potentially out of your lives and commentate for us. So really appreciate you guys doing the broadcast. I appreciate the admins. Shout out to my teammate who got a drive-through, unfortunately, but just the usual people. Go Blind Hen Racing. It's only 2 of us, so represent.
Nice. Yeah, the drive-through monster was thick tonight, man. So a lot of people fell to that for sure. But thanks for joining us in the booth. Maxie, you had one more thing?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for your appreciation. But when you all are giving us these incredible races to watch, I mean, they are legitimately more entertaining than F1 races. I don't feel like I'm giving up any time out of my spare time. I feel like I'm, getting to do this stuff for you all, and I love it. Thank you all for a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we can do that for you as well, because that's important. So, yeah.
Well, congrats once again. Sorry, go ahead.
Overcut does not work as well as I thought it would. There's a little bit of an overcut that you can do. I think it's actually a little bit more powerful probably than the undercut this week. So just as a sort of tip, I'd probably go right to halfway and do a little bit of an overcut on your opponents, just because of the tires coming in with the temperature.
There you go, folks.
So
more
is more time coming out on those cold tires, so a little bit of an overcut will probably work out pretty well.
For everybody racing tomorrow night, here we go.
We've given more information in this stream than we have in any other stream on how to successfully complete a race at Wet Spa. So if anybody didn't stay till the very end while we're completing this interview, you missed out on Brooker Quigg's tips to win the race. So thanks again, Brooker, and we will send you back to the race chat, man. Enjoy your night.
Yeah, you guys as well. Thanks again. Have a good night.
And that wraps up our interviews as our top three and our first place silver driver. Third place happened to be the same person. Fantastic race tonight. Maxie, what are your concluding thoughts on this Wet Spa race and are looking forward to Red Bull next week?
So I was very surprised that there wasn't a large coming together at the top of Radion. I mean, that's typical of Spa in GT3 racing. So big shout out to the guys for keeping it clean. And just, it was a great race. I love the wet weather. It always throws a little bit of a variable in there. And looking forward to the Red Bull Ring. I feel like normal services are going to resume a little bit. It's going to suit the BMW incredibly well. But we'll see. We race for a reason.
That's right.
If it was just the fastest car won the race every single week, we wouldn't do this. So it comes down to the driver, and I'm just anxious to see what these D1 guys can do because they don't like coming second. That's the reason they're in D1. So
that's for sure. We're sure to have some fantastic racing again next week. Be sure to tune in. The broadcast will be at the same time, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. And if you haven't checked out SRA yet, be sure to check out sra.gg and get the links to the Discord and all the info there. And reach out to our admins. They're the most friendly and awesome people in the whole world. So be sure to ask them any questions you might have about how to get involved here at SRA. Thanks again to you, Maxie. Fantastic being with you in the booth this evening. Thanks again to all our drivers and our sponsors and all the admins and everybody that makes SRA the place that it is to come have clean, fun, and awesome racing. Thanks for everybody tuning in, and we will see you next time as we go to round 7 at the Red Bull Ring with our Division 1 SRA GT3 Team Series.